Okay, good morning. Yeah, I'm kind of tired today. It's been so insanely hot here in Norway. And yeah, also my bike got stolen on Friday, like right outside our door. And for some reason, it has made me like super tense in the night. So whenever I hear a sound, I kind of wake up and oops, I wake up and I have to check it, which is super silly because the bike is already stolen. It's super silly. Anyways, we had where the hell is my there it is week planner. Um, yes, so maybe we should continue on our app. And last time we had a really bad session, like a typical issues with the environment session, which is so typical in development. And they're just exhausting. The good thing though is that I found all the issues, and again we have improved Code Sandbox, and there was also an issue with the new matches API that we can take a look at. Basically, okay, so the issue with Code Sandbox, that was when we install a dependency. Typically, you install that dependency by just choosing it here. And then we actually install that explicit version, like the latest version. We explicitly install that. And this has to do with caching and stuff. Because if we were to download a dependency on like latest, we would kind of have to ask for it every time. But by installing explicit versions, we improve the caching mechanism, or the caching is improved. And also you have a more predictable sandbox. This is true for local environment as well. Like suddenly you have updated the package and you didn't know about it, and then something bad happens. So it's always nice to have explicit versions. Now the problem was we didn't do this for tagged dependencies. So when I installed, for example, Overmind at next, it wouldn't choose the explicit next version. It would use the actual tag next, which could cause a caching issue. So that was one thing. And then there was another thing related to when you have a dependency that depends on another dependency. So for example, here, Overmind React depends on Overmind. And if Overmind React points to a different version than what you have installed, it will, sorry, that doesn't really matter. What matters is that when we install Overmind and Overmind React, we also install the types for them. And if and if the version differs there, Overmind React will be able to override the typing of Overmind. Okay, so that's what happened, is that we didn't install the next version of Overmind React, and then but the typing was overridden. So that is also fixed now. And this is also like a general problem. Like you probably noticed if you use React that you install a dependency that depends on React, but that dependency has a different version, and then suddenly you have two versions of React running in the browser, and then you start getting really weird errors. That's actually the same here. And there's really no good way to handle that. But okay, but we have improved that stuff a lot, so that's awesome. And then we had our matches API. Let's see, Overmind. Cool. So let's see now. I don't remember if I actually installed the latest. Wait, yeah, sorry. I need to actually install the latest version. At next. And then Overmind React next. And I think this might have broken the typing, because what happened is that the matches API was like insane. Like I tried it locally and my computer went crazy, and it took forever to get the types up. So there was like a performance issue with the way I typed it. I don't understand why though. Yeah, here you can see now we have matches here. So that's awesome. So let's take a look at how I actually implemented that matches API now. Oh yeah, isn't it going to... Oh, that's kind of silly. Yeah, it goes to the file instead of the library. That's weird. That's also a bug. Let's fix that. I can rather show it locally how I implemented the fix issue going to fix issue looking up. Let's see. Fix issue looking up the import Overmind goes to folder instead of null modules. Okay, anyways, so let's find the implementation here. Overmind, here we are. Let's see, state machine. Where are you? Matches. Here we are. Okay, if you remember last time, I had like, what's it called? Method overrides? Is that the name of it? It's like you define the method multiple times and then you have overrides. I think it's overrides. But this time I'm rather saying that we can have an array, well, not an array, but multiple arguments. This is why I have ... Multiple arguments where each argument is one of the states. And then I say, now put this, like the instance that is this matches method is called on, should now be like a state, still a state machine of the states, but also we are going to look at the actual states, and then we're going to see if it extends the content of the arguments that we're putting in here, and then it types those explicit states. Okay, this is like dark magic, TypeScript magic, but this allows me to have like one method that types everything. So I believe now, let's try again. If state matches, what are the states? Home, add backlog item, edit current week, and plan next week. We should do this. Okay. So it's happy about the backlog items now. What's really interesting though, so this state now should be typed to whatever these combinations ends up being. So what I mean about that is if I were to add unauthenticated here, it starts giving me, let's see, it starts giving me an error because the unauthenticated state doesn't have the backlog. So it understands that even though we say that it should run in these states, if we have one state that doesn't include any of the state we're using inside here, it will actually give an error, which I think is super, super awesome. Yeah, I hope that made sense. But okay, now we have our matches API finally. And let's just continue using this. And then we'll see how add backlog item. We'll see how this feels as we move on here. Yes. Yeah, and then we had this issue on auth changed, where we actually, let's see, where we had this disposing of the backlog. So we stopped streaming the backlog whenever we go away from the home state. Previously, this was the authenticated state, where it made sense, like when you exit the authenticated state, we want to stop streaming the backlog. But we can't really do that now. Because we still want to stream it even though we move into the other pages. So we're just going to comment this out for now, and then we'll think more on that later. Like that. Nice. Okay, so I think we're like back in... Oh, sorry. We still, of course, need to stream the backlog. We just don't want to dispose it. Yeah, let's do this instead. Yes, that makes sense. Cool. Maybe we can even do... Okay, let's leave it at that. Yes, so what we wanted to do now, we're on the home page, and we want to transition into adding a backlog item. That is going to be like its own page. And I think this is also going to be like a centered page because it doesn't contain that much information. So maybe we could start with adding the button. And let's see here. And this is where I differentiate like a component and a UI component. So a UI component for me is completely stateless. It just takes some props and does something. It's never connected to Overmind. It typically doesn't even have its own internal state, though it could have its own internal state. While the components are using Overmind, they are kind of part of building up the actual app. So what we can do here is create like a... So I want to have like a circle kind of button down right. And I'm going to try to create that on my own. So like a floating button, that's the name of it. And we import as React from React. Cool. Yeah, by the way, we've been talking about in Code Sandbox, we've been talking about, since we kind of control everything, what would actually, you're probably familiar with the terms snippets, where you have like a shortcut in a file and you can add something in the file. But we got this idea where, what if when you use the extension TSX, what if we would actually, based on the file name, we would import React for you? So in this case, immediately when you hit enter creating this file, you would have that code, you would have floating button react.fc return null, for example. So when you actually got the file, you would already be at this point, which I think is like even more awesome than snippets. And we could even like make it so if you hit like command enter or something, it would actually trigger the auto snippet for that file extension. Or you could like configure them yourself and stuff. Yeah, so if you have some thoughts on that, that would be awesome. Yes, by the way, I forgot to say that I really appreciate, I made this tweet, can I find it? Where is it? Yeah, like I'm doing a live stream building an app on Code Sandbox. I never experienced a more productive way to improve a product. You first get pissed off, which you have seen. Then you feel a bit ashamed, which you've probably seen as well. But what you end up with, like we often talk about this user empathy. Like this is the ideal way to motivate yourself to improve your product, is to actually feel the pain of the users. And typically the way we encourage developers to feel the pain of the users is to do support. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's a good thing to do support. But doing what I'm doing here, actually using the tool in front of users, like the emotional journey of that puts you way beyond any kind of user empathy I've ever felt doing support. So, and it's doing so many improvements to Code Sandbox as well, because when I hit issues, I'm like, I really want to fix it, and I really want to show you that it's fixed the day after, typically. Yeah, so I just want to mention that. Okay, floating button. We also need some CSS for this floating button. So let's, oh, it's down here. Styles. So let's continue using our convention here, which is not really, I just came up with that convention. And I guess, and then it's, I hate to say it, but when it comes to like building UIs. I know how to build UIs, and I know quite a bit about CSS, but building a correct UI, I have no idea how to do. In terms of accessibility and stuff like that, semantics and stuff, I'm really bad at that. So that's just a heads up, because that's it's like a science in itself, to understand and learn and do all that stuff. So this app is not going to be accessible from the start, at least, because I don't know how to do it. And then I hope that when we get to the point where the app is running, and maybe we'll get to a point where people want to contribute, maybe even after, so maybe like when we got the app up and running, we can continue these sessions and we can look into like new stuff. For example, accessibility. So we could do some sessions on, okay, how do we refactor this to improve the accessibility of it? That would be really cool. Okay, the button, we need like an icon on that button. And there's this project I really like called React Icons, which I think is actually pretty huge. So it takes some time for, pretty okay. Where you you have all the things from like Font Awesome and stuff. So let's look at Font Awesome. Font Awesome. So I think I can just go in here. Oh, is this Font Awesome? Oh, have they changed their site? This isn't the page here. Okay, this was super confusing. What the hell is this? This isn't the page you're looking for? Oh, was it? Oh, maybe I was on HTTP. Anyways, what's it called? Add. Yeah, maybe we can use a plus. So I believe I can just say like FA for Font Awesome, and then plus from React Icons FA. I think it was FA plus. FA plus. Yeah. So we have like an FA plus in there, and then we can say class name, styles, and let's call it button. Okay. So let's just, I know that we're at least going to have like a border radius of, is it 50% to make it a circle, I think? Yeah, let's just do that for now. Oh, sorry. And then we actually want to put the position of it to fixed. And I guess, like, should we pass the position? I guess we can pass the position. We need some shadow, what's it called? Box shadow. Yeah, so this is a nice place where we can actually insert, I don't remember, was it shadows? Yes. Float. So we can create our own shadow here as a token in Stitches. So let's find like a good floating box shadow. Maybe we have doesn't anyone have like a, yeah, let's steal one from Tailwind. Which one looks good? Excel, that one looks good. We'll steal that one. Cool. And it's not stealing, it's open source, right? Shadows. So now I should be able, oh, what did I do here? Now I should be able to say float. Nice. Okay, cool. We have our floating button. Let's move to our home page. I think we need some styles here. So let's import CSS. And now we're going to use like some specific styles for this. Yes. So what we could do here, we could, I could go further with these UI components. For example, there's a very new and popular type of component called a stack. What I mean to say is that now I'm explicitly using class names to build up the UI, but I could build it with components instead. So instead of screen container being a class name, I could create a screen container component. And for me, it's not like I think one is like better than the other, but creating a component around it is one more abstraction. And maybe that's it makes it a bit more readable, I guess. Though you can like easily plunge into creating complicated components with tons of different props, and you have to think a lot more on the composition. It's not as flexible. That's what I mean to say. So what we're doing now is that we're keeping the flexibility of being able to insert individual class names. And then maybe we can also look at this later, where we refactor those into actual components to increase the readability when we know more about the application. Because we have no idea what CSS we're going to write yet. So going right into tons of components will probably create some issues, I think. Okay, styles. What are we going to do here? We need like, well, I guess we need just basically a container. And this container, well, yeah, let's just create like a container. And is there anything special? Maybe we don't need this container actually, because the screen container centers everything. So I think that might be okay. We're going to have some links here, of course. Yeah, maybe we don't need to go into this yet, but let's at least import our floating button from UI components, floating button. Okay, so I know we at least we want to put this inside like a div. Then we have our floating button. Yeah, and actually we should rather import our what did we call it? FA plus from React Icons FA. We should rather do this here. Makes it more composable. Yes. Yeah, so why I'm kind of talking against myself. Like, why did I make this floating button now? Because we could just insert a button and then we could use like a class name for that button. Yeah, maybe we should do that. Let's wait with the UI components and make that like as a future thing, a way to refactor stuff. So what we're rather going to do is take this thing here. We're rather going to expose it here. Floating button like this. Floating button, cool. And then we're going to just have a button here, and the class name is floating button auto import. That's really cool. Yes, let's save that. And we have a beautiful floating button. Let's see. We need to fix this. So I think the reason it looks like shit is because we need to display it like block or something. I think buttons are inline block. Is that right? No, that didn't do anything. Should it be inline block then? Isn't it 50%? It's supposed to be a perfect circle. Margin 0. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, so this is what I mean. Like, I spend so much more time on CSS than I do on everything else. as a border computed. Oh, is it the padding maybe? So we should set the padding. Yeah, so we have padding 1. Let's see what happens now. Oh, did it suddenly say something bad? Oh yeah, it's starting to look a little bit more correct. And we also need to send, no, let's put this down. The margin is the same. Is this a perfect circle? Okay, I have to search this. CSS button, circle button. Oh, and I like, whenever I get this page, I skip it. I don't like, actually I believe they are from Norway, people who started this page, and they're earning a shit ton of money on that page. It's really, like, I don't know too much about it. All I know is that I'm pretty confident they're from Norway and they earn a shit ton of money on it. While you have the Mozilla Developer Network, which is like an open source thing. So I want to support them more than W3 schools or whatever. Yeah, for blah blah blah. Round button width. Oh, I have to. Oh yeah, of course I have to set the size of it. And I also have to say display flex, and because we need to center the thing. Align content, center, align items, center. And you know what I'm going to play around with later today? I'm going to play around with adding a button here so we can so that users can more easily change between the different modes in terms of hot reloading and stuff. Because now I'm in CSS mode, which means that I really just want hot reloading and instant updates. Because as I'm typing here, I would just see the button changing instead of it refreshing. But when I work with like logic and stuff like that, I don't really want hot. I can still have maybe hot reloading, but not even hot reloading. For example, when we worked on our auth flow, we really don't want hot reloading. We want to refresh the whole thing so that we're sure that everything works. So having a button that lets you like quickly change between modes of development, I think that would be super awesome. So yeah, I'm going to play with that later today, and maybe, ooh, now it's starting to look like something awesome. Okay, so we want the width of this thing to be like, can I use, yeah, that's sizes. So let's introduce some sizes tokens. Sizes, and then we have like 0 would be 0. Oops. So we can have size 1, which would be like, I don't know, 2 rems, maybe 3 rems. Oh, sorry. Let's see how that looks like. Oh yeah, so CSS height 1. Let's see how that looks. Did it change? Oh, that's way too big. So we have to start like maybe at 2. Kind of weird it didn't center though. Yeah, and I also have padding here, so you probably want like box sizing. Like, it's kind of crazy. I just want to create a floating round button, and I have to write like that much code. Why the hell isn't it centered now? there you go. SVG. Why are you not centered? Align items flex start. I didn't say that. Oh, align self. Align items. Oh, justify content. Oh! Justify content. There we go. Okay, cool. Let's see. I'm happy about that button. I think that's pretty cool. And then we want to position it, but we can rather position it out here. So we can do, oh, sorry, out here. So we can have our, what's it called? Add backlog item button. So then we can compose and we can move our floating button here, and then we can add our own cool stuff. So we can say like bottom should be like 1 rem or something. CSS right, 1 rem. Then I guess it should like appear down right somewhere. Styles. And it does, and that's great. Still kind of hidden though. Maybe I should make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, let's make it a little bit bigger, and then I think we're done for today. Okay, so let's have like 2 here, which is 2.5 rems. And then let's have a 3, which is 3 rems. So let's do like 2 and 2. Did it get smaller now? There we are. Cool. Yes, I should probably have like a color on the thing. So we can say like, yeah, do we have, oh, do we have colors here? No, let's add some colors. Colors, and we can say like main, and that should be tomato. And then we have like white, should be like not completely white, but like somewhat white. I think this one is like somewhat white. Let's see how this will work out. So we can say like CSS color is white, and CSS background color is main. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, yeah. And ooh, we can also set a, okay, now we're getting into it. And black should be like this one. So border color, it's black. Kind of cool with the typing here. Like when you create the tokens, you get the typing. What about our box shadow? Didn't we insert like a box shadow? Maybe it's there, I just can't really see it. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Or did I? Oh, it's this, right? This isn't right. I copied 2 different box shadows. Yeah, no idea. We'll have to look at that later. Yes. I guess that's it for now. We did some, yeah, we got through the fixes and stuff. And then we actually got our button in here. That's a whole freaking session just to create a brown button. I could, of course, have used a library, but yeah. Cool. And then, yes. So I guess tomorrow we are actually going to, when we hit this button, we're going to change the state of the app. We're going to change it into, let's see, what states did we have here? We're going to change it into add backlog item. And when we're on that state, we are of course going to display something else. And then I guess we'll just implement, as we did last time, we actually implemented the logic for adding an item, and we could even, in the DevTools, we were able to test it by running an action inside the DevTool to see that it worked. So when we produce the UI here, we should really be set for... Oh, you can actually have 2 box shadows. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, let's keep it then. There's probably a box shadow there, just can't see it very well. Anyways, yeah, anyways, so next time we'll create a UI for adding an item, and hopefully, like now we didn't get into any issues, so I don't have to go through through that the next time, so we can just jump right into it. And like in 30 minutes, I hope we'll get, we should get through that. Like the UI itself, it has like a text area. It has where we're actually going to create a UI component, because it actually has functionality. Like it's not like a simple button, and we're going to reuse that component. So it's like the week toggler. And then there's also a calendar there, but I don't think we're actually going to display a calendar. I think it's better to just do like the traditional date input, and then it triggers the native phone. Yeah, I think that will be better. Okay, cool. Thanks for following along, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.